Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know this is a little different from my usual videos, but this week I wanted to do a little process recording on how I'm preparing a surface for oil painting. And I haven't done much oil painting. Actually, I haven't done any oil painting or any traditional painting for 6 years now. I found an old watercolor moleskin sketchbook laying around, and I thought it'd be a good surface to prepare and paint on. And the good thing is that I didn't have to invest in any new materials other than new oil paints, so that'll save me a lot of money. But yeah, let's dive right into the process. Okay, so here is the standard 8x5 watercolor moleskin sketchbook, and I did use the pages, a few pages from it when I was practicing watercolor, but I think those were when I discovered Benjamin Bjorklund, who I mentioned in a previous video. That's actually the only reason why I wanted to try watercolor, was because I saw his paintings. Anyway, I have just a razor blade, plain razor blade with a straight edge, and I cut out a spare page from the watercolor moleskin sketchbook. And I think because I'm so used to using my sketch pad that's loose leaf paper, I wanted to do the same with my paintings, so I decided to just rip out a piece of paper from the sketchbook itself as opposed to keeping them all intact in the original moleskin. So now I just have the standard blue painter's tape, which you've seen almost everywhere, and I think is a normal standard for any artist. And I'm taping the sides of the paper, that way when I get to gessoing the surface it'll prevent it from buckling. And here's my awesome dad fashion with the socks and sandals. I actually bought just standard materials from my local Michael's art store, and you'll have some wonderful views of my little workshop here, my mini office. Anyway, here I'm already gessoing the paper, and as it dries, of course, it's going to buckle in between layers, and the maximum amount of layers I put on this piece of paper were 2 layers. I would highly suggest to tape the paper to the hard surface when you're gessoing. It'll minimize the buckling. And what I mean by buckling is the warping of the paper when it gets moistened by the gesso. Once the paper dries, you can stretch out the buckle of the surface by just removing the tape and then applying the paper to the surface. And because the surface I used for painting is paper, you don't really need to be so precious with them, so definitely prep a few pieces to paint on. So the following day I went to my local art store called Artisans. It's actually the first time I've been to that store. That shop you saw there was the exterior. So leaving the store I got some of the basics for oil painting. So of course the Gamsol for brush cleaning and also mixing for my medium. And then next you got the refined linseed oil. I remember they used to package these in glass bottles and the Gamsol in tin when I was in university, so I'm surprised that I saw them in plastic containers now. And then I got a big tube of titanium white. I think it's about 150 milliliters, 5.7 ounces. Next, we got the primary colors. So, sticking to the brand Gamblin, well, first we got the black. So with the black and white, it'll allow me to create a full range of value with tints and shades. And next are the primaries. So, got Phthalo Blue, Series 2 for Gamblin. The next item we have here is the raw umber. So I actually use raw umber as my sketch color. And just dilute it with linseed oil and Gamsol and then just use it as my sketch. So this one actually got Winsor Newton brand, the alizarin crimson for my red. They ran out of cadmium red when I was at the store, so I had to settle for alizarin. And then cadmium yellow with the Gamblin brand. So we just got the base red, blue, and yellow. So with those three, I'll just create my secondary and tertiary colors. And then of course we have the, I guess it's called Shea Sun palette knife. And I used to have a box of supplies from my university days, but I have long lost those, so I don't even know where all my old supplies are. And then I have an applicator. The applicator I actually picked up from one of my old professors at school. So I use that to contain my medium. It's usually just a mixture of Gamsol and the linseed oil. And then here we have the shot of all the products that I picked up from artisans. And for my brushes, I actually went to Trekkel's website to order a few. I have brushes laying around, but I use those ones for my graphite powder. So here we just have a long flat number 20 brush. And the prices for these were actually pretty reasonable. They weren't quite expensive. Here's the number 12 long flat brush. I actually like the build quality of the handles. They have a nice girth to them as opposed to what I use typically in the past. And then from there I got two other brushes. So the first one here is the number 12 6-inch handle filbert brush. And these are all synthetic hair, by the way. And the last brush that I got from Trekkel was the number 20 6-inch handle filbert brush. I actually think I might invest into smaller brushes because I realized that the brush heads of these ones are actually quite big for the surface that I'm painting on. Here we have the Trekkel brush restorer. And I've actually never used a brush restorer before, but I'm guessing it's just to shape in the brush head once you've damaged it. And then the last item I got from Gamsol, well, not Gamsol, Trekkel, was their linseed oil soap. I opened the tin of that and then I had this, sounds kind of strange, but I actually enjoyed the smell of the linseed oil from the soap. And then here I actually sanded down the dried paper from the gessoed surfaces. And it's actually a fine grain sand disc. I couldn't find just normal sandpaper when I was at the hardware store. But I made sure I sanded it down smoothly, that way I didn't have too many bumps in the paper. Just make sure you sand it down really well, that way you don't ruin your bristles on your brush as you paint on this type of surface. So that's the end of that process. And then lastly, I prepared a sketch from a photo, the one that I will be painting on. And these are just small studies to practice and get in the groove of painting again. Alright guys, so hopefully you enjoyed that video. I know it was pretty short and I didn't really plan out the voiceover, especially on the shopping haul for the art supplies. So I'll get that down next time if I ever do a video like that again. But just to go over some of the prices on the materials, it was pretty expensive at the art store for oil paints. And I guess I'm not used to seeing these prices, probably because when I got them in college, I had financial aid, and they were also discounted because you were a student. But for example, the price for the white titanium paint, $21.56 just for this size of tube. And the Gamsol, I guess this is a reasonable price for Gamsol. 100, let's see. If I can find it here. Gamsol, 32 ounces, $17.96, so 18 bucks for that. And then the linseed oil was $16.76 for 16 ounces. So it's actually, I guess it is, I mean, it's pretty high for a price, but the materials I'm guessing will last quite a bit, especially since I'm doing small scale paintings. I don't think I'll venture into doing large scale at the moment, but as far as the surface I prepared, this is it. You can see that here. Sorry, the lighting's kind of bad, but what I was mentioning earlier was that the brushes that I bought, I think were quite big for the painting. So here's the smallest brush that I got, which was that size 12 filbert brush. I guess maybe for larger objects that I'm painting they'd be fine, but of course when I get down to the details I'm gonna have to find a smaller brush. But hopefully that'll all work out. I'll figure it out. I don't think I'll record the painting though, because I don't think I'm quite confident yet with oil painting, so there won't be any time lapse or anything for my paintings. As for now though, I will see you all in the next video. Please like and subscribe. Definitely follow me on Instagram, that's where I post all of my updates. Definitely spread the video if you can, but I will see you all in the next one.